there's something to be said for rooting for a team that competes no matter what, that always competes. And it sounds like a cliche. It sounds like some bullshit that announcers on ESPN and pundits on NFL Network will say, and it doesn't mean anything, and you just kind of roll your eyes when you hear them say it. But on a day like today, you really come to appreciate it when your team, doesn't matter what the situation is, doesn't matter what the circumstances are, they're going to show up, they're going to play, they're going to compete. And on a week like this week where, I argue that the team didn't stand to gain very much by winning, that the team stood to lose an awful lot by risking their best players to, an injury. And, even went as far as to say that the team might benefit from losing, they go out there, missing several key players, and they stomp a mud hole into one of the best teams in football in their house. Maybe the best team. I mean, it's Arizona and Carolina are up there at the top. Whoever you like best, I'm not going to argue with it too much. But the point is, you go into their house and you stomp a mud hole into them. Just 2 months after they went into your house and wrenched the division away from you, and, that's still the case, don't get me wrong. But you go in there and you send a message to the rest of the league. I mean, that's special. There are not very many teams in this league that would be able to do something like that. So, I could, if you watch my last video, you might expect me to get on here and maybe even be a little aggravated that the team won, but that's not going to happen today. Today we're going to be happy that this team is playing so well going into the playoffs, because that's the important thing. 5 seed, 6 seed, playing Washington, playing Green Bay, playing Minnesota, that's all stuff that's fair to talk about. But once this game started and the team came out of the gate really hot, quick punt forced by the defense on the first drive, and then the touchdown drive, and then the pick, I was at that point like, okay, I know I said I didn't really care if this team won or lost, but I want to see this team play good. I want to see this team show me something going into the playoffs, and they did. So I'm going to get away from the fact that this means we might end up going to Washington, which is something that I wasn't too excited about doing. And I'm instead just going to talk about how if this team plays this well the rest of the way, it doesn't matter who we play, we're going to have a great chance to beat anybody. So this game, 36-6, and it felt like a bigger blowout than that, to be perfectly honest. Look, I know Arizona, by halftime, they knew that they had nothing to play for. They pulled Carson Palmer out and put Drew Stanton in. I know they missed Corey Redding. He went out with an injury on the first drive. I don't know how serious that is. But that team was playing. That team was playing for it in the first half, and we beat their ass in the first half. So don't get away too much from how good and how meaningful this performance was. And I was truly blown away by the way the offense played today. Let's start with the offense, because we were down our 2 running backs. Rawls obviously not going to come back. We were down 2 of our best offensive linemen, Sweezy and Okung. So my first thought was, Russell Wilson's going to get killed. We're not going to be able to run the ball, and we're not going to be able to protect the quarterback because, Mark Glowinski making his first career start at right guard and Alvin Bailey making a start at left tackle, and we know how ugly that can get. Those guys played good today. The whole offensive line, undermanned offensive line played good today. They were opening up holes in the running game. They gave Wilson time in the pocket. Wilson got sacked once in this game. He got hit 5 times. And of course, me, on a day like today when there's not a ton to play for, I'm holding my breath every time Wilson gets hit. But they kept serious hits on Wilson to a minimum, and hats off. Those guys, they got to be part of the game ball conversation. So Wilson was on point, one of his best games. Touchdowns to players who might never catch another touchdown again. Chase Kaufman contributing to the offense catches a touchdown. Cooper Helfet had a good game on offense. Will Tukuafu, maybe the last touchdown of his career. You never know when you're a guy like that. You don't get very many opportunities. Jermaine Kearse seals up the best season of his career, goes into free agency next year with a pretty good season under his belt, has a chance to get paid, and I'm rooting for that guy to get paid because, he's a local guy and he's done so much good stuff for us, even if he's not the best player, and I'm rooting for him to get that big paycheck somewhere. It was just a classic game of spreading the ball around, using all your receivers, and finding a way to make things happen, even though Luke Wilson's out, obviously Jimmy Graham's out, and, you just find a way to do it anyway. Receivers, like I said, a whole bunch of receivers showed up to this game. Christine Michael, running back. I got to talk up big about this guy because we don't know how much we're going to need him in the playoffs. I mean, Lynch could be weeks away for all we know. We don't know. Everybody likes to assume that Lynch is going to be back next week, and I think he will, but there's no guarantee. So to see Michael play as well as he did today, I thought Michael played great. There's a little bit of feast or famine with Christine Michael, but if he plays like he did today, he'll be a part of the solution going forward and not part of the problem. And if we need to lean on him heavily going into the playoffs, then a day like today makes me feel pretty good about that possibility. And that's pretty much your whole offense. Offense was money against one of the best defenses in football. And they were missing a couple of guys, but they weren't crippled. I mean, Tyler Lockett beat Patrick Peterson one-on-one down the field, and Wilson just overthrew him. Patrick Peterson's one of the best defensive players in football. Lockett just blows right past him and would have had a touchdown if Wilson didn't overthrow it. So, stuff like that, seeing stuff like that matters. And speaking of Tyler Lockett, I'll also get on the special teams for a minute because Hauschka did not have his best game, missed an extra point, missed a field goal. He did hit 2 long ones, but the day on special teams was pretty damn glorious at the end when Tyler Lockett breaks the team record for single game punt return yards running away, not even close. Every time he touched the ball on a punt return, he was off to the races. And, given he had like 4 good returns, I don't know how he didn't get a touchdown. One return got called back on a penalty, and there's nothing to say except, that's the kind of stuff that can swing a game, especially going into these playoffs. So Tyler Lockett, probably the MVP of the game. Limited effect on offense today, but he was a monster on special teams, setting this offense up in good field position all day long. So that's the offense. That's your special teams defense. Other than the one drive where we went to a zone defense and Carson Palmer just picked our zone apart, really kind of makes me think we should stop with the zone defense stuff. Money. Pass rush was great. I have not seen very much from this pass rush at certain points this season. Last week, I saw very little from the pass rush. Today, they were on it. Michael Bennett played like a monster. Averill was a man possessed, a sack and a half, deflected 2 passes, 3 quarterback hits. Bennett had 5 quarterback hits. Great to see Jordan Hill back. He had a good game. Sherman did pretty good. Deshaun Shedd had his first career interception in the end zone. Great play. Jeremy Lane had a pick. Earl might have gotten away with illegal contact on that play, but still Jeremy Lane got the pick. Should have had another one, but Shedd accidentally knocked the ball away. Lane was getting picked on a little bit on one drive, but he came back strong in this game. And linebackers, good. KJ Wright played good. Bobby Wagner did his thing. Just really, really, really excited about the way this defense played because we have not done a phenomenal job this year at consistent quarterback pressure and consistent turnovers. If we do those 2 things in the playoffs, I don't think anybody is going to have a great chance to beat us. And we did both those things today. We got 3 picks. 2 of them came in the second half, but still. And we got quarterback pressure, and second half we turned those into sacks. Just the 2 on Stanton, but still. Pressure can be as good, if not better, than a sack. So, yeah. Almost a perfect game from these guys. Everything you would want to see from this team you saw. And that's a top 2 team we played today. So I'm going to watch this last game And, I'll stand by what I said. I want to play the Vikings, so I'd rather the Vikings win this game. But the way this team played today, we should beat whoever's in front of us next week, be it Minnesota or Washington. I'd rather play Minnesota, but let's just appreciate the fact that we have a team that can play this well and will go out there in a game like today and go all out. And believe me, I was starting to get pissed off and yell at my TV when Russell Wilson was still in at the end of the third quarter. I think most Seahawks fans were getting agitated at that point, but no harm, no foul. The only injury we had today was Jeremy Lane, and it doesn't sound like it's overly serious. You know what? It worked out. Carroll took a gamble, threw the dice, it worked out. I'll take it. So, going to the playoffs next week, I'll talk about that game when I know who we play. And today, you were reminded of how good this team can play.